Watson going to the sideline. Pick six. Tommy Hill. The short run to the house. Look at that. Handoff. Downhill. Touchdown. His third.
What's up, everybody? It's Cornhusker Connection. I'm Brandon Shanahan, joined as always by Tyler Sprinkle. Monday nights, every Monday, live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. YouTube clips throughout the week. Boy, Tyler, I get kind of worried this time of year because I'm like, I don't really think we'll have much to talk about. It's the off season, it's spring. Wrong.
The news cycle keeps cycling, man.
I did, obviously a college football heavy podcast, lots of college football news going on. I do want to start with what might have been the greatest sports event I've ever seen in the Masters. I mean, what an unbelievable Sunday for sports fans alike. I saw men on TikTok crying when they saw Rory win. Yeah. I lost a little sleep on Saturday. I was so juiced for what was happening. Can you kind of walk me through your level of excitement and how juiced you were to watch?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. I know people love it, so that's awesome. I chose instead to get out and touch some grass. It's kind of the quintessential talk about, or don't talk about it, be about it. So I was out there playing golf. The first time since my bachelor party, about a year and a half ago. So I didn't watch it.
That's crazy.
So, and let me tell you why. Okay,
He's walking through it.
I don't dislike the Masters. It's not going to be me sitting here saying, "Oh, this, that, and this." What I have a real issue with, and I've always kind of thought, but it just kind of came to a head this year, is the coverage for the Masters is so fucking ass. It's so annoying. They're golfing all damn day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're golfing all day. Maybe not as much on Sunday. But you can't watch it until like 2 p.m. For what? So I have to sit there and watch ESPN or the Golf Channel coverage for six hours until they finally decide to let me watch some golf? It's bullshit. I very much dislike that. That's really my only gripe with it. It's a great event. People really, really like it. I enjoy the little intricacies of the event itself. Again, I'm not sitting here saying that it's a bad thing. No. I'm over the coverage of it. Like, it's not coverage of it. It's just talking heads sitting there. It's like watching, how NFL Sundays from 11 to noon, it's the pregame show, and you get 1 hour. For this, it's 6 hours of pregame, and then they're like, oh, yep. So almost all of the golfers are done today, but here's a couple that you get to watch. It's just, that's what I dislike about it.
So now is the Masters? So I'm trying to think of how other tournaments do it. Is the Masters the worst offender of that, or is that all these golf tournaments?
I think that since it is such a polarizing event, it's really the only one that I pay attention to. Really, I'm sure they're all kind of like that. But with it being so big, you'd think that they would want to just show coverage of it.
Well, because I mean, from the get-go, they have. Yeah, I see what you mean, because they have coverage all day of it, especially on now that they got ESPN Plus involved. Yeah. They have featured groups. They have Eamon's Corner. They had Masters on the Range this year. I didn't tune into that, but yeah, there's not a main broadcast until.
Dude, I don't want to be paying for shit. I don't want to. I'm not gonna. Yeah, buy ESPN Plus. You can watch it. Fuck you. Download the app. You can watch it. I want to watch it on my goddamn TV. I don't want to watch it on my fucking cell phone. There it is.
I feel you. There is a little bit of that, because what really got me yesterday is Sunday afternoon. Your boy's taking a nap. It is what it is. I had featured groups on before the main broadcast, and it was some so-so group like John Rahm's group who had no real stake in it, and so I was watching them. Fell asleep. Woke up. It was still on the John Rahm group, but then the big guys had already started. Bryson and Rory is the only guys I actually wanted to watch on Sunday, and I missed it because I was stuck on featured coverage instead of just turning it on to whatever main broadcast they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed Rory's first double bogey, which would have been the highlight of my day. I was really rooting for him to lose.
Yeah. So if I'm going to watch it, I want to actually watch it. I don't want to sit there and I love Scott Van Pelt, but I don't want to sit there and watch him talk for 6 hours. That's all.
I do think as far as the stage goes, and
it's great. Yeah.
I mean, it was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
It might have been. So I don't know. I was thinking about this last night. It was all I was thinking about last night. I had so much fun watching this golf tournament, and it's crazy because it was built up on Sunday to be a certain thing, and I was like, oh, Rory v. Bryson. This is going to be an all-time battle of two polarizing figures in golf, and it wasn't that. And then so it wasn't what I thought it would be, which is supposed to be really special, but then it still had whatever it turned into was also unbelievable. I've never seen somebody golf so clutch and so god awful at the same time. It was unbelievable. It's like he was missing shots just so he could show you some sick shit. Yeah.
I heard about what was going on. Yeah, but we didn't get done golfing until like right when we got done was when I think Rory was down on his hands and knees crying. So I don't really know. What Rob said? Bryson's putter broke. What's that about?
Oh, well, Bryson fell apart. Bryson was awful pretty much throughout the day.
No,
because it was so crazy because it started off with Rory with a double bogey. Bryson hits a birdie on two, takes the lead, and then he falls apart for some reason. It's not even like he got to Eamon's corner and then fell apart like a lot of guys do. Like Rory eventually did. So Rory ran away with it. He had four-stroke lead going into Eamon's corner. Forgot how to hit a wedge. Dropped 4 strokes in 5 holes. Justin Rose all of a sudden gets back into it, which who would have thought? Rory has, I think, like an 8-foot putt to win it on 18. Botches it. And then hits the sickest shot on the first playoff hole to get it within 4 feet. Knocks it in. Game over.
Interesting. Okay. I'll have to go back and watch some highlights of it. It sounded like it was a pretty, well, what Jim Nantz did, shot of a lifetime. So you got to see that.
He had a couple of those where I was like, what the fuck are you even doing? And then it ends up 4 feet from the hole.
That's it.
And then he misses the putt and puts one in the water in the next hole. It's unbelievable.
Hell yeah.
But just want to get that out there.
Yeah.
Because to me, that took away that was the big news of the weekend, which is crazy because college football is crumbling right in front of our very eyes.
Or restarting. Is it a rebirth?
I feel like the good guys are going to come out on top of this. But Nico, I'm a leva. I heard somebody say it and it sounded so close to Nico, I'm a leaving, that I don't believe that that's how you say his name. So it makes me very nervous to say it on a live broadcast. But Nico forced Tennessee's hand, was like, hey, I know I am a above average SEC quarterback, but we need to double up that money, $2 million to $4 million. Tennessee said, no, thank you. And he entered the transfer portal. And I'm so fascinated to see how this plays out.
It would be so awesome for like this to be a hard reset for like the transfer portal and NIL. If we could just get everybody to band together and just say, okay, Nico, unfortunately, you played your hand, you lost, buddy. You're done. Have fun at Iowa Western next year.
Hey, go Reavers.
But I understand why
Hunter Deckers is all-time leading passer now, a national champion.
Yeah. I see why like teams like UCLA and stuff are wanting him because that's the hardest position to find as quarterback. So I get it. And it'd be hard to say, no, UCLA, you shouldn't, take that awesome quarterback. But this could be like where the teams get the power back, which do I want that? No. Do I want it to be a little more balanced for the players and the teams? Yes. So I think this could be a really pivotal turning point in this whole NIL life that we're living.
And particularly with the way it played out was setting Nico up for as much failure as possible. Because if he enters the transfer portal, he's like, I just want to hit the open market, see what happens. And the initial transfer portal window, I mean, he's going to have people banging on his door. I mean, if Miami wanted Carson Beck, Miami absolutely would have jumped at Carson, or not Carson Beck, but Nico. That would have been early enough for him to be eligible to transfer to another SEC school, and all those teams would be chomping at the bits for him. But now doing this in the spring is a tricky spot because one, there's really only like 12 schools in America who can afford a $4 million quarterback in this NIL landscape. I guess it might be different with rev share being a piece of it now, but I mean, if I'm a team like UCLA, I'm like, we have $4 million. We could get several key players with that money, or we can get this quarterback, which Nico's ceiling is crazy high and would drum up interest, which is fine, but not every team has that amount of money, and the teams that do kind of already have a plan at quarterback. Like Miami had a hole with Cam Ward leaving. They got Carson Beck. Colorado, I've seen them thrown around, but they got Caden Salter and Juju Lewis, who are probably dedicating quite a bit of their NIL resources to. Ohio State's good with their rookies. Michigan paid $10 million for an 18-year-old. Like, everyone's pretty set.
I think that this could have been fake, but I think Deion said that he didn't want Nico.
I don't think Colorado is actually in on it, but like that's a team that had a high-end quarterback who's no longer there. Who if Nico goes into the portal at the same time Caden Salter does, maybe he does go there.
Yeah,
maybe they are in play, but
and I sent you guys that story where they were talking about how before the playoff game, even a lot of the players were wanting more money because they're like, well, we're getting paid for the 12 or 13 games that are in the regular season, quote unquote. We're not getting paid to play in playoff games. So you need to pay us more to play in these playoff games. And it's just getting dangerous out there.
Yeah, what you sent us from Josh Pate, whatever. That's, I don't know. On one hand, like I get it. Like if we pay you for, I don't know. I don't know how these contracts work. And that's also kind of a problem, is that nobody knows what's actually happening behind the scenes. But
they're not contracts though, right?
There's got to be something though, right?
Other than the fact that they're going to say, as long as you are at this school, we're going to pay you this amount of money. Other than that, I don't think they can put anything else in there.
Yeah, I don't know how any of this works. But that would have been crazy if Nico would have been like, actually, I didn't get paid enough, so I'm not playing in this college football playoff game. Because that's been like the only argument that's been a key argument for this college football playoff expansion is, if these guys are in the college football playoff, they're going to care enough to, play and not opt out like in all the other bowls. But if that falls apart, then
they might as well not have, because they got boat raced by Ohio State.
That's right.
So, I mean, you go out there and lay a stinker like that, and you're sitting there like, we need more money. Why don't you win a fucking game first? Then we can talk.
Yeah, it's I can't believe it played out how it did, because I fully expect the tendency to cave. Be like, oh, okay, Nico, we'll give you whatever you want. So shout out Heupel and company for sticking through, which, everybody's giving them their flowers now, but like that's not an easy thing. That's your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
That's the guy that has been with your program for 2 years, who's been cooking, who you think that is about to break out and be a superstar. Now all of a sudden you have to go to plan B in mid-April.
It's tough, man. I'm just happy that it wasn't Dillon and it wasn't Nebraska.
I did have that thought. And Tennessee fans have seemingly been pretty strong. I would be so embarrassed. And this would be something that would, Because Nebraska just has this history recently of being the
Actually,
absolute laughing stock of college football.
I don't. The only way I would be embarrassed, I think, is if we caved. I think that's the only way we'd be. I would be embarrassed for Nebraska. If Dylan was like, I need, $4 million more to continue playing here, and we just said, all right, dude, see ya. I don't think I would be embarrassed about that. I think I'd be like, yeah, fuck that. We had an agreement. You come in, you play 1 year of decent football, and then you want more money.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Luckily, I don't think they'll have to worry about that.
Yeah.
What I do worry about with Dylan is that, especially here in the next year or so, he'll be so busy being the best man in everybody's wedding that he's ever known that I don't know if he'll be able to lock in as much as he needs to. So, obviously, well beloved Isaiah Hunter says that he's gotten really close to him and was one of the first people to reach out. And I'd imagine be a huge part of him transferring here from Cal. And I think I'm just talking about who we have instead of a guy like Nico. I don't think people understand how different things are this go around with Dylan. Because this time last year, he had just gotten to the team in January.
Mhm.
He was a true freshman. He hadn't earned anything. And now it seems like he's taken that up to the next level, which is exactly, it just makes me feel very, very grateful for where we're at as opposed to where a school like Tennessee is at.
Yeah, I love Dylan. Love him. It's my dog.
I also heard Sean Callahan put out this thing like where Nico's going to go. And he thought back to like when Jeff Sims got to town.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like internally they're like, I don't know how this is going to work. It doesn't seem like he's getting it as quickly as he needs to. And there might be a team out there who has a Jeff Sims, like, oh, maybe this isn't the best option for us. And they cave and give Miko whatever he wants. But even in that case, $4 million is crazy. I have such a hard time imagining he's going to get that anywhere.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. Now, if he comes out and sets the world on fire and beats all these SEC teams that he was supposed to beat, maybe he has a little more leeway there to maybe get 3.5 or negotiate for a little bit more. But with the way the season went, there's just not a whole lot of room for discussion. It's kind of like, it feels like arbitration for me for like baseball. It's like, yeah, you want this money, buddy, but look at your numbers. Yeah, that ain't getting it done.
And because I don't even know who's in that ballpark. I know Carson Beck got somewhere around $4 million. Who else would be that highly paid of a guy? Cam Ward's gone. Shadur was probably up there.
How much do you think Dylan's getting paid?
Somewhere between 1.5 and maybe 2.5.
Okay. That's
yeah. And that's another thing that kind of irks me, or it just makes me feel yucky. It feels like his dad's kind of driving the boat here. Nico's is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't, because you talk about like success being a factor here. I kind of imagine it's so hard for a guy like Nico who has a high ceiling to reach that high ceiling if you're starting from scratch. He's not even going to get spring ball with wherever he ends up with. So just to hop in to fall camp and be kind of the savior of the program, and whoever's going to be paying that kind of money is going to expect him to be at that savior level and to get him to a ceiling. Like, how do you get there compared to a spot where you're going to be, it's your third year with the program, you had a full year of starting last year, you embarrassed a sorry Iowa football program as a true freshman. Like this, it's hard to imagine a better spot for him to be set up to succeed than Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, it's very short-sighted. I mean, you could stay at Tennessee, play really well, and potentially be a very high draft pick. But instead, you want the money now, which I don't dislike. And I know, like you said, like his dad is driving the boat on this, but at some point you got to be a man. And if that's not what you want, then put your fucking foot down and say, no, I want to be at Tennessee. sorry about that. I don't know. It's just you can't blame it all on him, but he definitely has his own part in this. Whether you want to hate him for it or not, it's the truth.
Yeah, you're right. It is. I think the yucky part is his dad getting on Twitter and clapping back at Pete Nakos for this incredibly false story that ended up being exactly and like proved immediately. Like I remember last year with Shams and Woj, how Woj was peddling that that Dan Hurley was going to get the Lakers job, and Shams was like, "Nope, JJ Redick's their guy." And for a month, we were like, "Oh, you fucking idiot, Shams, you bozo, honka honka," as my good friend Tyler Sprinkle would say. And then it turned out Shams was right the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Then Woj had to retire into running a minor major college basketball team. That motherfucker.
Yeah. It sucks. But like I said, could be a pivotal moment in college football history.
I think so too. Does it? Because I think one thing that makes the NFL so fascinating is that the offseason is as fascinating as it is. First of all, if there is a way to fix this, do you think that those decision makers are looking at this and be like, we're seeing so much engagement and interest in how things are currently going on? Like, do we just keep the Hunger Games as is? Like, not step in and intervene, or just keep it rolling?
Because I think at some point these people are going to be pissed off. Like, they're not going to be spending this amount of money. So it's going to get ruined for everybody eventually. So instead of millions of dollars, you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. All because a couple people wanted to ruin it for everybody.
But at this stage, who even are the decision makers? Because the NCAA can't do anything without getting sued into oblivion and spanked by whatever justice they go in front of.
I wonder if it's going to be one of those things where they have to unionize to get any kind of like real contracts put in place. But do the players want that? I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing, is that if I'm, a high-end quarterback prospect who would be approached to enter this union, and I'm seeing Carson Beck and these guys make $4 million in this system, I'm thinking, why can't I get a piece of that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like
but I guess you also got to think, like, the vast majority of college football players aren't getting these kind of deals.
That's what I was going to say. I think a lot of the players on these teams aren't making that much money, so I think that a lot of them would be willing to get a baseline. Like,
like it's security involved.
I might be getting, the $10,000 a year, but if we go and unionize, then it's a base of 50 or 100 or whatever that number is. You're guaranteed that much to make a roster. But then it truly, it's already dead, but like the walk-ons and stuff, those are absolutely dead, unfortunately. But I don't know. Very interesting to think about. And there's no real right answer or one strategy that you can use to figure this out. I think it's just gonna take years. It's gonna take 5 more years of this for people to really want to put their foot down and say this has got to change.
I think so too, because this is all just happening so quickly. Like the NFL, when people say, well, just do what the NFL does, the NFL had decades to kind of evolve into what it is, and it had its fair share of holdouts and lockouts and all that fun jazz along the way. But like this college football is so different than it was 5 years ago, and 5 years ago is so much different than it was 10 years before that. And that it's just, how do you? And then it also goes back to who is making these decisions, because the NCAA is not doing anything. They can't do anything. It's really the TV executives who are, pulling the strings down. It's like, what do they want? What's in their best interest? And I don't know if any of this affects them in that kind of way enough to inspire some change.
Yeah, they're still going to be making their money. They don't give a shit. Nor should they, really. I mean, people are still going to watch college football. I don't think that this is going to turn anybody away from college football anytime soon.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, people sit there and say, this is ruined. I'm never watching this again. And then next year, every Saturday, they're sitting there watching it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just the losers who can't afford to really have any fun, like, I don't know, Eastern Iowa, who really think that this is spoiling their sport. Like, oh, what, we can't just recruit guys and develop them? We have to spend money? All right, well, let's send oh boy, I'm trying to think of that bozo's name. I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, Iowa has $4 million to pay Nico, right?
I don't think they have $4 million in general for football. I mean, what a there's a lot that I'm excited about with the evolution of college football, because I think at the end of the day, like, things are exciting. But the thing I am so excited for is that poverty program. I can't wait for this to catch up to them, because there's no way. And they also just got a new hotshot basketball coach. And also, in case you've been noticing, they haven't gotten shit in the transfer portal for basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not a goddamn. They got one guy from Drake, of course, who came over, but they lost their best shooter to Nebraska, by the way. They lost one of their other key players to Creighton. It's just, I can't wait for this NIL universe to catch up with them.
I do love that new wrinkle that has been added, is you can sit there and laugh at the poor teams, you know? So I'm sure that you love that quite a bit. Before, it was just like, oh, yeah, well, we have a really good training facility and this, that, and the other. Now it's like, oh, you can't pay $100,000 for a good quarterback to come? Poor.
Oh, it smells like broke people in here.
Yeah.
Like, I know Caden Proctor was talking about championships, but if you pay him enough money, I'm sure he would have suffered through the Big Ten West.
Yeah. Dude, could you imagine the team that Bo Pelini could have put together with some NIL money?
That's interesting.
Yeah. How much do you think, on that same topic, how much do you think Ndamukong Suh would have gotten paid?
Whatever he wanted. Whatever he wanted. And it's not just a matter of, oh, he's the best player in college football, we should give him whatever he wants. But, like, imagine being in a negotiation with that guy and trying to tell him no. Yeah. Like, no, we don't think. It's more like, oh, do you want my wallet? Like, I'll wire this money to you right now. Just please don't hurt me.
Yeah. So, or even, like, well, I guess, Reggie Bush was getting paid, but, just thinking back in the past and just like,
that is,
how much do you think this guy would have gotten paid if they
like,
could?
what if we did have NIL? Because TV contracts weren't as gaudy as they are now.
Yeah. So
I don't know how. Yeah, that's a fascinating topic. We'll have to dive into that more, because what would that team look like? Because Bo Pelini wasn't like an elite recruiter any means, but like, Nebraska was such a they were actually a competitive player at that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something to think about.
That is something to think about. Oh, I love it. We'll have to do a whole show on that. I'm so stoked. Let's see. Other news. Did you see that Jared Crick got hired as a high school head football coach in Nebraska?
I did not. Where at?
Yeah, he's going to Cozad.
Okay. Interesting. That's cool. Haven't heard that name in a while.
Me neither. Jared Crick or Cozad, actually, for that matter.
Yeah.
I just heard Valley for the first time in 10 years earlier today.
For what was that about?
Brooke.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Duh.
I was like, he's going to the Valley? Like, Phoenix? Is he going to Phoenix for a baseball game?
No.
Okay. So then I looked up Valley, Nebraska. Oh, yeah, that's right. That still seems like a far place to go.
Yeah, it's I forget what class they're in, but they play like all the small schools. So they have to travel quite a bit.
I guess that makes sense. Because where is he at? Gross,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you can't just play Scud every week.
Yeah.
Have to go out and venture out to some of the other schools. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you see that the Nebraska legislature? We're Nebraska legislature show now. They're moving forward sports betting through the unicameral debates. How do you do sports betting? Do you
I
do
don't.
sports bet?
No.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they're talking about sports betting in Nebraska.
Yeah, it passed through the future of online sports betting in Nebraska clears first major hurdle in the first round of debate 27-16. They need one more debate, 2 more votes, and the governor's signature.
Well, Tom Osborne is still alive, so that's all I have to say about that.
I'm shocked that they did gambling without doing sports betting mixed into it.
They opened up a new casino kind of by where Horseman's Park used to be.
Yeah.
They opened up a new casino, and I was there on Saturday with Trevor, and they have a sports book there, which is interesting. So you can do it at a physical location. You just can't do it online.
Oh, you know what? I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's. I mean, obviously, that's not how it's going to be because DraftKings and FanDuel are going to run the world here soon. But
it's going to be the United States presented by DraftKings here pretty soon.
I mean, as somebody who loves sports betting, I miss the days where it was
a little more taboo.
Yeah, a little bit harder to get to.
Yeah,
just like one obstacle. No, and now every goddamn sports broadcast you see is flashing out the live lines and trying to get you to bet with their partners. What a disaster.
Yeah. I don't do that. I never got caught up in that. I always think like I love baseball too much and football too much to be like mad that I'm watching baseball or football because my bet isn't hitting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know about that because I get mad watching football all the time.
Well, that's for different reasons. Like, oh, my team sucks. It's not my team sucks, and I'm about to lose $100 on this parlay because they couldn't do whatever.
Because they didn't get over 55 yards in the first quarter.
Right.
I get it. Yeah, I think that's a peaceful way to live.
Yeah, I enjoy it in plenty the way it is. Brooke actually got he didn't get mad. He's just like, I hate how much you care about baseball in April. I'm like living and dying on every pitch, and I just enjoy it, man.
I love it.
Yeah, you attacked me earlier today, though, and I'm not happy about it.
What did I do?
You said Dodgers Cubs. Fuck you. What about the Mets?
Well,
the Mets have won 10 games too, you prick.
I know. I was just thinking, well, because he was talking about the Rockies, which I don't know why that always gets to me. Like, I don't like the Rockies either. Like, obviously, I'm emotionally invested in them, but I fucking hate them. Also, shout out Chris Bryant going back on the IL. So that didn't last very long.
Fucking leaks.
Unbelievable.
What a guy.
But so that whole thing started from a tweet that I had that was talking about Rory. And like what was so fascinating about this Masters is that Rory hadn't gotten his green jacket yet. Mm-hmm. It was one Masters win shy of the career Grand Slam. And like that's such a fascinating storyline. And now it's gone. It's gone forever. Like yesterday was special. That was awesome to see him win it. And that moment's always very cool. But like the more times that we don't get it, it's like, I don't know, edging.
Well, now it's just
I like to edge with my sports.
Yeah, somebody else has just got to step up and start knocking them out. Then they could be it's been he's had 28 times to get this career Grand Slam, but still hasn't been able to do it.
Yeah, and there will be, but like in the Cubs case,
that'd be close.
Scotty, I didn't realize Scotty how far away he is from a Grand Slam. But I mean, those things take time. Is that Rory's was already 11 years deep into this chase.
Mm-hmm.
of trying to get that green jacket. It's going to be at least another. Well, nobody has 3 right now, or 3 legs, so it's just a bunch of guys with 2s. So we got to get them to get their 3rd, and then another decade to marinate. We just had Rory, who I don't know, is right there. Same thing with the Cubs. And the Cubs and the Red Sox are unique because I think we're going to see teams go 115 years without winning a World Series, i.e. the Rockies, the Athletics, so the White Sox, so on and so forth. I don't think that's going to be unique, but the origins of the Curse of the Bambino, the Curse of the Billy Goat, having those caked into that tradition. And now, granted, not great if you're a Cubs fan. I'll admit that. But to the rest of America, and the reason why I brought up Cubs Dodgers is that would have been such a good versus evil in the eyes of America. That would have been such a fascinating. That would have brought baseball back. So I don't know. Maybe Brooks just hates baseball, and he's known that baseball's declining. So
yeah,
maybe that's the real cause, is that he just hates baseball. We figured it out.
That makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Let's see a couple of things. Now that we're talking about things that's talking about hating, one quick item.
Your least favorite thing.
Yeah, I know. I put together a Google Doc for the Haterade pyramid that I'm putting together for this summer, so I had to do some work here. Real quick pivot into the Haterade. Just want to throw this out there. Colorado's retiring 2 and 12 for Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. If I wasn't a Colorado hater, I'd get it, but I am, so I'll have to point and laugh.
They brought life back to that program. So I get in a sense that they were very important to what was going on. But yeah, I feel like you got to win a national championship or something. Or even just a playoff game. I don't know.
A bowl game? Can we start there?
No, I don't think that's a big enough splash.
But I mean, yeah, okay, you're right. And Travis Hunter, he won the Heisman. That's a really big deal.
Yeah.
The other one, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that those are on the same caliber of accomplished.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Oh,
Me neither.
Let them do what they want to do.
I just want to take a quick pivot because I thought this tweet was funny. 13 and 12 record, no conference championship, 93 YouTube videos, well deserved.
I do think that's a very funny tweet.
It is. Let's see. Last stop on the hater train. I know you didn't want to talk about this, but I got to bring it up. James Williams, some more chatter about how the guys at Florida State are built different. No offense. He said no offense. He kept saying no offense. No offense. But the guys at Florida State are just built different than the guys at Nebraska. And I guess my question is how are we supposed to take that? How is anybody on Nebraska's team supposed to take that?
Who are we talking about?
James Williams.
Who's that?
He played on some third downs last year. He almost had 10 solo tackles. He almost got to double digits.
Interesting. Was he like a walk-on?
That's actually a good question. Yeah, I think folks say that he would be flipping burgers if it wasn't for Matt Rule and his eye. He picked up a few sacks against Rutgers.
Gotcha.
But did not see the field against Iowa in the biggest game of the year. Put that out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Not ringing a bell, man. Good on him. Hopefully he does well, and he must be on like a sports show on like ESPN or something.
Well, he's so he plays for Florida State. And I know you were in a coma last year during college football season, but they went 2-10.
Oh,
fired their entire staff.
Wait! I thought they won the national championship last year or 2 years ago.
No, that was the year before. As soon as Jordan Travis left, they lost They lost to Boston College, for example, which would be absolutely embarrassing if you played Boston College and didn't beat them.
But they must have the number one defense or something.
No, they cleared house, fired their defensive coordinator. They got some guy who gave up 54 points to Rutgers or to Indiana.
Oh,
We gave up 400 offensive yards to Wisconsin. Not the previous version of Wisconsin who went to bowl games. 5-7 Wisconsin. Almost got run out of the building by the University of California at Los Angeles at home because they couldn't get a goddamn stop. Northern Iowa got 5 yards of carry on them at will at Memorial at home.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, good luck with whatever he decides to do. I hope that he's able to play. I'm glad that he was once a walk-on and now has a scholarship at Florida State. That's awesome. You can never hate a guy for, getting his school paid for. Good. Yeah, best of luck to him. I don't remember.
The only bummer for him is that people were being so mean to him on Twitter that his defensive line coach had to get on and defend him on Twitter.
Oh.
So you feel bad for him, being cyberbullied by.
But they're really tough, right? Like they're really big and strong.
Yeah, real tough guy.
Okay. Well, yeah, good, yeah. Hey, any way you can keep your name in the news, it's a good thing.
It is in the news. It's the only way it's going to be in the news.
Nice. James Williamson?
James Williamson.
Is that yeah. So nice. Good on him.
Yep.
Happy for him.
For those keeping tracks at home, he had 6 more solo tackles than punter Brian Buscini this year.
Oh, that's good.
So
Buscini's a safety? No,
he's a punter.
Oh,
yeah,
Did we lose a bunch of guys on defense? He had to fill in for a little bit?
Nope. Just got a third of the tackles just being a punter.
Straight up punter. Okay. All right. Gotcha.
In fact, it's kind of a bigger deal because all of his tackles were solo tackles. Probably result in touchdowns if he doesn't lay the boom.
Yeah. Okay.
Meanwhile, if James Williams doesn't get his tackles, he's got Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher who probably clean up his mess.
Side note real quick. The Mets are just making the Twins implode. So that's good. Just side note.
Wait,
they've had a couple. The Mets have had a couple balls in play, and in that time, 2 errors by balls just thrown into the stands. So, just wanted to keep you updated on that real quick.
Oh boy! So, bring up James Williams because, on the surface, I have a hater list of anybody who transfers out of Nebraska. Some exceptions. Adrian Martinez, Wan'Dale Robinson. I've been brought on board that Malachi Coleman is on that exception list.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on there. Daniel Kalen, those kind of guys. So one of those who transferred out went to Missouri, Mekhi Bayer.
Yeah.
Transferred to Missouri. Would have been likely a high volume starter had he stayed. He didn't. Goes to Missouri. I would assume it seems like the common consensus is he wasn't going to be the starter there. Enters the transfer portal. So it's early April, and we already got one on the list for guys who are worse off for transferring from Nebraska. So one for one.
What do we think he looks like next year? Where's he playing?
Group of 5 somewhere where he's going to get reps.
Do we welcome him back?
No.
Away, right? Yeah.
No, and I think it's also tough with that position in general because we have so many young, exciting guys who I think are ready to play. I think if he's like, I'm a Husker through and through, we keep him, and he's awesome. I don't know if he makes the starting lineup or if he moves out of the starting lineup throughout the season to make room for some of these younger guys. But a lot easier to do that when he bleeds Husker red. And that's obviously was not the case.
That sucks, man. Like, yeah, it's one thing that they transferred out, but I like to believe that he was doing what he thought was best for himself and not just trying to screw Nebraska in some way. So it sucks. Sad. Wish the best for him. Hopefully he lands on his feet somewhere like Oklahoma or something.
I'm happy. I'm happy you're taking that side. I feel like we need some yin and yang. But it does set me up to my next question. Which of these Husker transfers are you preying on their downfall the most?
Honestly, I don't have a whole lot of hate in my heart for those guys. I know it doesn't fit your narrative, dude, but listen, you caught me at a bad time. The Mets are beating ass right now. I'm in a good mood.
It's all smiles over there.
Yeah, so I'll defer to you, and I'll give my 2 cents on your list. How about that?
Oh man, I don't know. I haven't even really thought about who I hate the most out of this. I'll start with James Williamson, of course. And the thing with him is, I don't think I think if he had just not said anything and went and silently balled out at Florida State, I think we would have been great.
Yeah, I think we would have had a ton of fans here in Nebraska to see him go out there and ball. He's like burning these bridges for no reason. It doesn't make sense.
And he did it twice.
Yeah, one time I get it. It's like, maybe I should. It's just they caught me at a bad time, and then you get training on, hey, maybe just don't say that. No, so fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. There it is.
Not a player, of course, but Tony White is at the top of my hate watch list. Anybody who uses Nebraska, and a lot of these guys kind of have that theme where it's like, I think they just use Nebraska as a stepping stone, which makes me want to throw up and out of rage. So Tony White's at the top of that list. In that same bucket, Jamari Butler kind of is in that same camp where it felt like he was like, okay, I'll go to Nebraska for a year, show some flashes, and then pop off, in the transfer portal and go to the University of Mississippi, or LSU. One of those teams.
Prince Will went to Ole Miss, I think.
Oh yeah, Prince Will. He's on that list a bit too. And those two guys, I guess, because they were really, it felt like they were about to pop off. Like the same thing we talked about Nico. It felt like he had done his cooking. He had done his time developing. Like this was going to be the year where he gets to that next level. Mm-hmm. I felt that way with those two guys. And now they're, playing for 8 and 4 SEC teams.
Yeah. I mean, would it make you feel better if the guys that we lost on defense all went to Florida State? Would that make you feel better? They're just following Tony White, and like that's their coach, and they want to be in the same system in a sense.
That's a very good question. Would I have felt better if they had all followed Tony White? I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it would just be easier to like focus all my hate into like a spotlight as opposed to a floodlight where I can really hone in on Tallahassee. Yeah. So I think that would make it easier because I mean at the end of the day I just I want guys who want to be Huskers, and those guys clearly did not want to be Huskers.
It's tough though because you hear it all the time, right? Like the SEC, that's where football's played. That's real college football, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. The players hear people saying that too. So I wonder if they think their best shot to really get to the NFL and be a high draft pick is to play in a league like the SEC. Not like the Big Ten is anything bad. But if they're really using it to try to propel themselves forward to be seen, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Now, it would be a different story probably if I didn't think that we were in a good spot to continue, growing and building on what we started last year. Maybe I would have a lot more hate in my heart, but I'm excited for the young guys that we have. And I think that it was an easy way to say, okay, they're gone. We have what we have. Let's do it. And also, you don't know what Matt Rule said to them. Like, I think Princewell is a different story because he was the up and comer. He was supposed to be the guy next year. But you don't know what he said to the other guys. And he has been, on many occasions, said how open he was with these players. Like, listen, this is what it's going to look like for you next year. Do with what you will with that information, right? Like, go find somewhere else. If you don't like that, that's fine. So I find it hard to just sit here and say, yeah, it was definitely fuck them and blah, blah, blah. I find it hard to do that at the moment.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I don't want it to come from a place of, ah, man, Nebraska really needed these guys. Nebraska's going to fall apart without these guys, because I really do love, especially what they've done in the transfer portal since those guys left. Williams Ranieri, keeping Keona Davis, making him a big priority, and kind of giving these younger guys an opportunity, especially in the linebacking core with Shavers and McGahee, Dawson Merritt as a freshman. Like, I love the guys who were in that room. And it's probably not a bad thing if there are guys in the locker room who maybe didn't get it like these guys do. Maybe it's probably for the best to see them out.
Or it was also maybe a thing where they met with the NIL collective and they're like, there's not as much money as there was last year for you. So go find something different. I mean, that's something that you got to think about too now.
Yeah, because you could definitely tell they were guys who even did go into the portal who Nebraska was like, we got to keep these guys.
Yeah,
and I got to imagine the NIL collective was a big part of those conversations.
Yeah, and when you get like some really good recruits, you're going to pay them. So when you get good guys, you got to play them big or pay them big. So it leaves a little less money for maybe the older guys in the room.
And final question I had for you, and we don't have to get too deep into this. I'm sure we will throughout the offseason, but what does that magic formula look like between transfer portal guys and high school recruits? Because I remember pointing and laughing at Colorado for signing 6 high school players in last year's recruiting class. Like, these bozos, Coach Prime's leaving the first chance he gets. Now I'm like, maybe that's kind of a glimpse into what it's going to look like here soon for more programs.
You just can't be sustainable picking off the transfer portal. You can't. It's a lot of proven talent as opposed to high schoolers that aren't proven at this level. But there's 100 teams looking to take the same guy to the transfer portal, right? Whether they have a chance or not, they're still trying to get that guy to the portal. I think as long as you treat them well and you are successful and have the money to pay them decently at least, I think there's a good chance that a lot of these guys stay. So I think getting them in, teaching them the way that you want them to play early on is way more beneficial than trying to poach somebody out of the portal every year. Or not somebody, but just like trying to rebuild your team every year after the portal is just not sustainable.
And I think you're right. And I think what I fear we're going to start losing is players developing in the same way that we're used to. And I don't know if this is a coincidence or if this is the beginning of the end, but like this year's draft class kind of feels yucky, especially like quarterback wise or like positions where you typically see year over year development. And there's a lot of talented guys there, but I also look at, 2 schools, Miami, who all their quarterbacks come from the transfer portal, whether it's Tyler Van Dyke from Wisconsin, Cam Ward from Washington State, now Carson Beck from Georgia, and then a team like Tennessee who tried to do it just the way that you described, where we're going to invest in a very high-end, high-ceiling high school quarterback. We're going to spend 2.5 years developing him, and then poof, he's gone. Like, what does that formula look like? And nobody knows. It's not like we're looking for a definitive answer, but
I think the way that Nebraska did it this year is right around what I would like to see. You fill your biggest needs, right? Like right away. Wide receiver, you get some corners, You fill those guys or offensive line. Your biggest need right now, you fill that, and then you fill in around that. So you get talented guys to teach talented guys, as well as your coaching staff, right? I don't think that there's a better way to coach than to see somebody that's at the top of their game at your position and learning from them, as opposed to a coach sitting there yelling at you. That's helpful. It is. Don't get me wrong. But seeing a player that is it's your peer that's doing it right now, I think that's really valuable. So if you can get a guy like, the Dane Key, right? You get him from the portal, and we have a bunch of wide receivers, Cortez Mills. You watch Dane Key play every day, and you watch how he does his reps and how he practices and how he is in the weight room. That's going to be way more beneficial, I feel like, than really what your coaches can really bring a lot of the time, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I think the way that Nebraska did this year is right about what I'd like to see. You're bringing in 5 to 10 guys, I think, is kind of the sweet spot. And it looks different each year depending on what you need. But I think 5 to 10 each year, I think, is a good spot.
Yeah, I love what Nebraska did. I hope it pans out, because I also hear you talk about, well, Cortez Mills getting benefits from hanging around Dane Key, but then it's like, okay, well, who's actually going to see that benefit? Is it going to be Nebraska?
Right.
Is it going to be, Florida or Central Florida? Maybe Scott Frost comes in. How sick would that be?
But truthfully, I'm not worried about that with Matt Rule. I think he's just such a good players coach. I think people are more often than not going to stick around for that.
I think so too. And I have a hard time imagining that with a guy like Matt Rule in office, that there's going to be a lot of people who come in and be like, oh, this isn't what I was told it was going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not playing because I was told that I was going to be a starter.
Yeah.
I don't foresee a lot of that.
Yeah, because he seems very real. He's not going to sugarcoat it. He's going to just really tell you what he's thinking and what that looks like. And I think he's open to a discussion. Like, if you have some input, I think he's more than happy to hear that input. So I think it's a culture that's, I feel like, is going to be set up for a while, in terms of, maintaining at least really key players for the most part. You're always going to have the guys that are like, I miss home, I want to go back home, or I hate the weather here, or I want to go live in a big city. Guys like that, there's nothing really you could do about that. But I think for the majority of it, it's going to be Matt Rule cares about me. He's giving it to me straight. He's not lying to me or telling me things that I want to hear just to keep me here. I know we're paying really well, so I don't see it being an issue, at least for a while.
I'm right there with you. And we talked about this a lot during the transfer portal season, but there wasn't a whole lot of seemingly like Matt Rule's guys that he got out from high school who were the ones entering the transfer portal. Was guys who he brought in as transfers who seemingly transferred back out. So I'm right there with you. I think Nebraska's in good shape. Can't say that for all the formerly Big Ten West schools. So I just want to throw that out there. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Go Big Mets. Go Big Red. Go Big Broncos. Go Big Mets.